Welcome to another episode of Positive Vibes, brought to you by the Multidimensional Show with Natasha Aylott and Rachel Murphy-Bonner. In each episode, Natasha and Rachel aim to bring more happiness to the world with uplifting news, positive advice and helpful tips. In this episode, we take a look at the seasonal topic of love and relationships. We explore what makes for a happy love life and what to do if it isn't working out. In the discussion, we also highlight the importance of knowing yourself and the 5 core features of a good relationship. So enjoy the show and please do share this video for others to benefit too. Hello everyone, welcome to another show of Positive Vibes. My name is Rachel and I've got Natasha here with me.
Hi there, how are you doing?
Oh, very well, thank you. Yeah, we just celebrated Valentines Day last week.
Congratulations.
Yes,
and is it your first, second, is it your second Valentine's Day?
Our first since getting married.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, our second Valentine's Day.
Oh.
So, yeah, lovely. And how are you, Natasha?
I'm really good, thank you very much. Really good.
Yeah. So, we thought we'd focus on love and relationships. As I said, we've just passed Valentine's Day, and it's a period where a lot of people start venturing out a bit more. The weather turns warmer, days are longer. People often are planning weddings and getting out and meeting new people. So it's quite a good time really to be focusing on this. But it also has its challenges for people, and there's a lot of pressure, with Valentine's Day and media in general. So hopefully we can shed a bit of light on those areas where there are challenges and darkness as well. So yes,
indeed.
There's an increasing number of people, from looking at the statistics, who are living on their own. But conversely, another bunch of statistics I looked at said that contrary to what we were being told, that marriage is on the decrease and divorce is on the increase, that seems to be changing just lately in the last sort of 5 years or so. So there seems to be a resurgence, and I've heard this said in the media, that there seems to be a resurgence of people wanting to couple and to be in partnerships. So I think it's quite topical conversation to be having now, isn't it? Quite turbulent times generally, and a whole host of other things on a wider scale, on a global scale, with lots of different cultures mixing together, people moving around, and not necessarily having the network of lots of long-term friends and family, not necessarily being in their own culture or their own country, and people sort of meeting all sorts of different cultures and walks of life. So there's lots to talk about, isn't there? Do you?
Indeed, a lot has come up just listening to you. For me, actually, you mentioned about more people living on their own. Now that is only relevant if the statistics show what percentage of those people living on their own are happy, and those who are not. Because actually, when you are comfortable in your own skin and happy with who you are, then living on your own is a wonderful thing. Because there's nobody to tell you where to put things, or you wake up in the morning and everything's exactly as you left it. So the joy of living on your own for some of us is exciting, and for others it's a lonely thought. So that would be interesting to find out what percentage of people are happy who are living on their own. Another thing you said, which I totally love, is that we're mixing and merging cultures, and we're living globally and moving countries, and I totally love that, because I think it's so enriching. Because different cultures have different ways of doing things and being, and I think that only adds to the rich tapestry of life.
Absolutely.
When you blend and merge, it's like you can't make a cake with one ingredient. So when you have the best, when you have the best of the best, it makes a fabulous, gives you a fabulous result, makes a fabulous cake.
Oh.
So I'm certainly all for that. You know, I grew up in Moseley in Birmingham, and that was rich culture, all walks of life, and you never knew who you're going to bump into. So I loved that, and that was a great upbringing for me. And I totally love that environment now. You know, you go to London and you get it. You know, you don't know who you're going to be sitting next to on the train, or or who you're sitting next to in a restaurant. You know, it enriches your life, I think. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I'm a product of mixed heritage marriage or relationship. My mum was from Indonesia, she's no longer with us, but I have lots of Indonesian relatives, and my dad is from the UK. So
lovely,
a nice blend there.
Yes, a wonderful blend of East and West.
Yeah, so I can
full of Eastern promise, Rachel.
It's never a dull moment in terms of learning about the cultures in my family. You know, it's such a contrast, and it's so interesting. And I came up with a bit of a humorous comment to what you said earlier. You know, talking about recipes. I'm definitely a fan of pan cuisine. So
there you go then.
Yeah, it does add richness indeed, and it has its challenges too, of course. So yeah, I wanted to just really look at how we can kind of, as you say, be happy if we're not already, as we are, and start from the basics, which is to love ourselves and look at the relationship with ourselves, regardless of what our status is in terms of relationship, whether we're happy or not with our relationship status. I think that's the key, isn't it? You know, as we both know, you know, when we're coaching people, that's kind of like fundamentals, isn't it? To be able to love yourself and to value yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was doing a podcast earlier on today called M-A-N, Men Are Nuts, with a gentleman who hosts a podcast who lives in Qatar, actually originally from the UK, but lives in Qatar now. And our topic was also the same as tonight, because you and I chose ours first, and then I suggested, when he couldn't come up with the suggestion, he said, well, what do you think? And I went, actually, you know, I think love and relationships would be really good, because I'm doing another one on the same day, and so let's get that vibe out there, and really, you know, share it. And one of the things that I was thinking about, and many of us are a product of this, me included actually, is that love and relationships, we're in a relationship, and, you know, presumably at the beginning everything's wonderful, fantastic, and then it either goes one way or the other way. It either goes, you know, from strength to strength, and the love deepens and the bond strengthens, and you work together and you're really a team and you support each other, etc. Or it doesn't go very well. And hence, when the relationship then comes to an end, usually it's not overnight. So you don't just wake up one morning and think, you know, that wasn't working, that conversation last night, so let's bring the relationship to an end. What happens to relationships is over time they deteriorate, and unless you know how to turn them around, or unless you want to turn them around, they go like a downward spiral, and it could take weeks, it could take months, it could even take years, sometimes even decades of being in that space. So you're in a toxic environment at this stage. And then when the relationship finally does end and you part ways, you are holding on to all of this toxicity, all of this pain, this hurt, this regret, this anger, this shame, this sadness, whatever it is. And then you meet somebody else and you go straight into a relationship in them. Now, of course, for the person who's going into the relationship, it's like, oh, there's light, it's beautiful, it's fireworks, it's exciting, it's love. But what's actually happening is all of the baggage and all of the toxicity from the previous relationship is literally being dumped on the doorstep of this new relationship. And if the other person who you're now having a new relationship with has done the same, then there's two lots of baggage. And unless or until that's resolved, everything's going to go pear-shaped, and that will go like a downward spiral, and hence this pattern continues. So one of the points that I really wanted to open up with our listeners tonight is that how important it is for us to, as you rightly said, and I know you and I are completely on the same page with this, how important it is to totally love yourself first. Because when you love yourself first, and that's not in a selfish way, that's just really honoring and respecting who you are and feeling comfortable with who you are and being happy in your own company and caring for yourself, then, you know, you're not coming from a point of neediness going into another relationship. And so when a relationship fails and you've got all the baggage from that, it's so important to give yourself time, because it's a grieving process. And just as when somebody that you love dies, you have to allow yourself to mourn that loss. You have to allow yourself to grieve. And the grieving process goes through different stages. You know, when you lose somebody who dies, well, a relationship is the same or very similar in terms of the steps. So you have to go through, you know, this sense of loss, this maybe sense of anger, sense of regret, maybe forgiveness, maybe sadness, and then peace. And oftentimes people don't allow that to happen. So kind of wanted to introduce that as a, how about thinking about this when, you know, when your relationship isn't going well. And the other thing is really that occurred to me today is that whilst you're still in that relationship, even though it might not be going well and you know it's coming to an end or it just can't be fixed, to really put every single effort that you have into doing your best and respecting that space and honouring that space and that relationship for what it is, being thankful and grateful for the good things in it, so that it comes to a mutually peaceful end, if you like. It's not always easy, it's not always possible, but from your perspective, i.e., you know, whoever's listening, you can do your very best. You can never change another person, you can never tell them how to show up. What you can do is you show up in a way that you are being respectful of that space.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the only thing that we have full control over, is ourselves and how we respond to a situation. And it takes a lot of insight and patience and curiosity and wisdom to really dig deep, and sometimes when it's really challenging like that, and to see the gifts that and the lessons and the learnings from you know, a relationship that has gone sour like that, or has ended you know, with a lot of bad feeling, you know. So I guess it takes time. It's not something that people can necessarily see straight away, but journaling has been something that has worked well for me, and I know it works well for a lot of people. Perhaps even talking to somebody if that's not your bag, and just reflecting on what those gifts are, and really digging deep if it's difficult, to see what it's actually brought up for you to be able to heal. And you say about how we bring baggage into relationships, and that is such a valuable thing to remember, and also that the baggage actually comes from much earlier. You know, we learn these patterns of how to relate from childhood.
From babies, right? The second we're born.
And probably before that,
in fact, yeah, just before we're born, isn't it? The last 3 months, the last trimester of pregnancy is when it all starts to go in. We're absorbing it like little sponges.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's some patterns for some people could have been running for decades before they're noticed or observed.
Yeah, so the gift in you know, being in a relationship that has become dysfunctional generally is that it sort of highlights those patterns that can be healed, so that you become a much wiser whole person, you know, and you're able to integrate, you know, all those parts of yourself and discard those things that don't actually serve you and that have contributed to the choices you've made, the people you've attracted into your life, and the responses that you've had. But from a place of kindness as well. I think it's important to remember that, you know, when we're doing any soul searching, is to be kind to ourselves, isn't it? And you know, remember that we're all learning and growing.
Let go, rain. It's not your song to sing no more. Goodbye, blame. Weights can't lift you up, but you can find a way to drop them. Can you feel the wind? Say you do, it's how it all begins. Then comes reason, then purpose. Well, you will find your way. In the meantime, may the sun bless you with its rays. It's how we learn. It has to hurt, it has to hurt. Every single turn. Don't beg your pardon. You're not someone's victim. It has to hurt. It has to hurt. You can ask spring how it is when the buds are bursting. You can watch the birds when they fly across the world. Weights can't lift you up. You can find a way to drop them. When the new ones weigh you down, you'll be on top of them. Oh, don't mind the fall, the breakdown, and when it burns, please don't be concerned, 'cause it's how we learn. It has to hurt, it has to hurt. Every single turn. Don't beg your pardon. You're not someone's victim. It has to hurt, just has to hurt. It's how we learn. Don't be concerned. It has to hurt. Yes, every single turn. Don't beg your pardon. You're not someone's victim. It has to hurt. It has to hurt.
Relationships. I think that's where we get most of our learnings, isn't it, and our growth.
Oh, relationship. I think relationships are everything, and not just the relationships with our friends and our co-workers and our children and our parents, but the intimate relationships. You know, oh my gosh, you know, when your intimate relationship is on point, when it is right, when it truly serves you and it's mutually fulfilling, then you can do anything, you can achieve anything. You can conquer the world. That's how you feel, right? Mm-hmm. And the opposite is also true. You know, when they're not good, then everything comes tumbling down. Because even if you don't want the relationship you're in, if it's not serving you, because it's not your foundation, because it's not supporting you in that way, then everything starts to feel like a push, like a bind, and every area of your life is affected. And one of the things that I was thinking about today, and actually was talking about earlier on the podcast this morning, was love and relationships, to me, have to go hand in hand. And you know, you only got to go back a couple of 100 years, and romanticism wasn't even there. So love and marriage actually didn't go hand in hand. You know, it was a contract, wasn't it? And so times are really different. And I'm so glad that I wasn't one of those people who experienced marriage in that era, because certainly for me, and I know for you too, you know, love is the thing that binds you together. Love is love is the most powerful energy on the planet, in the universe, and
it runs
love,
you, isn't it?
Oh yeah, every single cell in your body, of course. I think for me, there were 5 things that came up with regards to love and relationships. And if you're happy, I'll share them.
Please.
The first one that came up, and this is in no particular order. The first one that came up was trust, and how important trust is. And not just trust. People say, oh yeah, well, you have to earn trust, and oftentimes parents say that to their children, well, you have to earn trust. Now, I get that and I understand that. However, when you say to your new relationship, well, you have to earn my trust, that's kind of saying that you're insecure with them, or that maybe you don't trust them, or maybe you don't even trust yourself. So I see trust more nowadays, and it's changed for me, as a choice. Yeah. Because once you make a choice about something, then you're sort of committed to it. So when you choose to trust somebody, you're saying, I trust you. No matter what, I trust you. So in other words, you are granting them that gift of trust. At the same time, if it's ever betrayed, then that's their bad, not yours. At the same time, there's not this earning thing. Oh, well, you have to earn my trust. Because already, if you put that slant on a relationship, particularly a new relationship, that doesn't feel too loving to me, saying, you have to earn your trust. It feels more loving to say, I make a decision and I choose to trust you. I choose you and I choose to trust you.
Yeah, I think there comes a point where that choice has to be made. Personally, for me, I think in my experience, I've been very trusting and not being very discerning. So I've had to kind of learn to hold back a bit and actually look and see what's actually in front of me, and instead of what I'd like to be in front of me. So I can.
I like that, trusting but not discerning. I like that. So bringing the discerning into the trust element. That's lovely.
Yes. Beautiful point though about being your heart being open and not being on guard, because I think there's a lot of that in Western society, isn't there? It's a bit too much, stranger danger, wariness on the street, and somebody wants help, the old kind of scenario, somebody wants help and people just walk past because they think, oh, we don't know who that is. So I totally agree that there needs to be more kind of that openness and
open-heartedness brings trust anyway, doesn't it?
Yes.
And why would you want a relationship with somebody that you don't trust? Your relationship is your main relationship is so intimate, and you're sharing everything about yourself and they're sharing everything about themselves, and therefore it has to be a place of trust, a safe space where you can explore together the intellectual side of things, the emotional side of things, the psychological side of things, physical side of things. And once there's a safe space built on trust, then they definitely that comes into it.
What's your second point?
Well, I was going to say, which leads me to the second point, which is respect. I think respect is
fundamental.
Just because you're in a relationship with somebody doesn't mean to say you own them. It doesn't mean to say they own you. When you respect that somebody has a life and interests and work and commitments and responsibilities maybe outside of the relationship, and you allow them to be who they are, then I think that the whole environment is so much smoother. That's, you're not always on their back or always in their space. It's there's a mutual respect for who they are. So you don't try to change them. You accept who they are. You accept maybe the other responsibilities and commitments that they have when they come to the table. So I think respect is
love, isn't it? When you can truly accept and respect that other person for who they are. That's the greatest actually.
And it doesn't always happen in relationships, because familiarity breeds contempt, as is often said. And so when you remind yourself about respect, and it's respecting yourself as well, And you have to respect yourself first, and then you're able to respect another person. You know, and if they don't come home on time, or they forget to phone you at this time, or whatever it is, when you've got the trust and when you've got the respect, it's okay, because there could be a real reason. You know, they could have been helping somebody, they could have been, you know, on an emergency call, or whatever it is. So it's relaxing into the relationship and being accepting and trusting and respectful, and So number 3 is honor. And I love that word because it conjures up the old, wise, you know, protective, beautiful, respectful, honorable way of being. So I think honor was the thing I put for number 3. What does that conjure up for you?
What would you define as honor?
Yeah, well, honor, protecting, a word of, you know, honorable, being a person of your word.
Integrity.
Having integrity. Yeah, I was just going to say integrity.
Yeah, definitely another fundamental in a relationship. Yeah, coming up some really good ones there. I would totally agree. That's kind of conjuring up the ideal that we want to have and we want to be in a relationship.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, you have to be that person first.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then introduce that to the other person. The 4th one was having no expectations. Because expectations, when you have expectations and they're not showing up for you, then that leads to disappointment, which then in turn, you know, leads to resentment, which is really unhealthy in an intimate relationship, or any relationship for that matter. So, and it's a challenge having no expectations. But actually, when you have no expectations, then everything is a bonus.
Yeah, that's quite a tricky state to be in, isn't it? And how does it kind of play into having relationship needs, would you say? Or emotional needs?
Yeah, well, I think that emotional needs is a good idea, and writing them down and sharing them with one another so that you understand. Well, that comes into more of a category of having agreements. So, you know, when you have agreements, then, you know, there are things that you agree on that's important for you, and have your emotional needs met, and so on and so forth. And it might be agreements on who does what around the house, you know, on a practical level. Whereas having no expectations means that you're never going to be disappointed. So I'm not saying that, you know, you should have no expectations so the other person doesn't do anything at all. No, you have to have an agreement. Yeah, of course, I get that. And having your emotional needs met, and discussing them beforehand, because actually when you enter in a relationship, the traditional kind of Western relationship is boy meets girl, find each other attractive, have a coffee, enjoy the conversation, go to the cinema, like it even more, have dinner, whatever it is, you know, and so on and so forth. But actually somewhere along the line, this infatuation of love needs to be expanded into something more deep and more long lasting. And so finding out one's visions and, you know, mutual interests and being on the same page in several areas of your life is necessary. And I think at the same time, also, like you said, the sharing of each other's emotional needs, and so that they're met. And then you can enter in a deeper sort of relationship.
Yes. I think those conversations about needs and desires and kind of hopes and dreams is an ongoing one, isn't it? Because we're always growing and developing. I don't think it's something that we can tie down and then forever beholden to. I think it's something that evolves and grows, isn't it? And in a discussion, sometimes there isn't necessarily agreement, and there's some toing and froing, and it can push buttons and open up all sorts of things from the past and in our psyche. So it's that's an interesting one, isn't it? That's quite
oh yes, a challenging one.
Itself,
it is. Yeah. And you see, when you do have disagreements, when you have conscious conversations and open-hearted conversations, and all of the other things are in place, then you work through, and you might have a discussion for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. But when there's that mutual trust and respect, and you're honouring the other person and who they are, then you will find a way around solving a discussion, a disagreement, a misunderstanding, which brings me to my final point of love, which is probably the most important of them all, which is why I saved till last. Because love is the thing that binds it all together. Real deep unconditional love, real love that says, no matter what happens, I love you. I'm there for you. I'm solid for you. I'm your rock. And love means sacrificing certain things as well. Love is the most powerful energy, and love can spread from one part of the planet to the other part of the planet. And love is there when you're not physically there. Love can be felt.
It transcends time and space, doesn't it?
100%.
I mean, the amount of times that me and Dave kind of sensed what the other person wants or needs, despite not being next to each other. Or my daughter picks up on something, or we say the same thing at the same time. There's something beyond the physical, and something beautiful about the longevity of real love. And something that somebody said not too long ago to me, which kind of made a lot of sense and kind of really added clarity to what love is. It's that it's a verb. It's not just a feeling. It's a verb. It's a state of being. It's a state of behaving and doing.
It's a doing word. They used to call it at school.
Follow your word. Follow your commitment, and you may not necessarily feel the highs of romantic love, but a long-lasting love is something that is slow burning and very long-lasting, and comes through the test, the most testing of times, and carries you through.
Yeah, like you said at the beginning, caring, kindness,
yes,
compassion, and these things, patience. These things are all part of love. In fact, all of the things we've talked about are all part of love. Yeah. Love is sort of the overall. Yeah.
Oh, what a lovely way to end, hey?
Love. Or love is who we are, of course.
Yes, I'm feeling very much in the heart space after all that conversation about love.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Me too.
And plenty of food for thought for us all, I think.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
And if you resonate with this, then please do like and share.
Yes.
Because it's all about spreading the love.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and there's a workshop coming up in March. It's going to be an online workshop. More details below.
Excellent.
Those people that would like to attract and manifest more love in their life and relationships. So a pleasure talking to you again, Natasha.
Likewise.
Wisdom and insights in that discussion.
Thank you.
Yes. So
lovely to see you again.
Lovely to see you too, and we shall look forward to chatting again in a month's time. We'll post.
Look forward.
Yeah.
Look forward very much. Thank you.
All right then. Will you take care of yourself?
You too. Have a beautiful rest of the week, and everybody out there, and have a wonderful weekend. It's only around the corner.
Okay then. Bye for now.
Bye.